In this video, I will show you how you can fetch data from your database. So here you can see I have start gem and create a PHP file, showdata.php. So in this file, actually, I will fetch the data from database. So first of all, what you have to do, you have to just connect to the database server. Inside it, we will set some variable for the server, for the username, for the password, for the database name. So as you know, our server is localhost. So we'll have to say here localhost, and our username is by default root, so I have to say a root, and then password is null, and our db name is, as I have shown you, that our db name is test database. So we'll say a test database. So we have added server, username, password, and our database name. Now we have to set the connection. So to set the connection, we need a variable, and that is called con, and here we will create a new connection. So I will say here new mysqli, and here I will pass all the variables like server, comma, username. Let me just zoom out it. I will say here user, comma, $pass, comma, $dv name. So our connection actually done. Now we will do query. So let me zoom in, and here we will set the query, right? So I want to create a variable for the query. So I will say here query, $query, and I'll say here the query. So to fetch something from database, the query is select star. It means you want to show or fetch all the data from the table. So select star from, and we have to mention the table name inside the single quotation. So our table name is, here you can see student. So now we have to say here student. That's it. Now we need to execute our query. So let's say I want to execute the query and I want to save the result in a variable. So I will say here execute, and here I will execute the query. So to execute query, we just have to say here mysqli query, and here we will pass the two parameter. One is for the connection, that is con, and another one is our query, query query. So now actually our query is executed. Now we will say that if query is executed, so we just have to mention this inside if. So if our query is executed, now we want to show the data. So our table has multiple data, let's say. If I show here, you can see we have the student table, and if I click on the table, you can see we have 4 data. So for the multiple data, actually, we need associative array, and to fetch associative data, we have a function here, and that is called mysqli assoc for the associative array, right? So here we have to say mysqli, then we have to fetch the data, right? So we have to say fetch and then assoc. So this is the function. So here we just have to pass the parameter, and that is execute. So we have to execute it. So let's pass it execute, execute. So we have passed the variable, but the problem is where actually the value will be stored. So we just have to create a variable here. So that is called row, let's say, and now our value will be stored in here. Now let's say I want to echo it. So I will say here echo and $row. Now if I go to the browser, and our file name is showdata.php, and it is inside test.php folder. So I'll say here localhost / test.php, and here you can see we have 2 files, and one is show data. So we have to go to their show data, and here nothing, right? So what is the problem? Okay, so this is our query, select star from use student. So I have used here single quotation, so you don't need to use it. And now you can see, if I refresh, now you can see it's saying array, because as I mentioned that it is an associative array. So it will keep all the data as array, and it will, all the data will be stored in this variable. So when I set the variable, it says that array. If I want to show all the data, so I have to mention the column name. So I would say here that I want ID. Yes, I want to copy it more times. So I'll say here 3 times, let's say, and here I want to show the student name, right? So my column name is st name. You can see here this is st name, right? And st email. So I will say here st email. If I go to the browser and if I refresh now, you can see one yamin@gmail.com. So because ID is one, and then Yamin, student name, and then email is yamin@gmail.com. But uh, if you notice, you can see that it's just showing one value only. We know in our table we have multiple values. Like you can see here, we have 4 students data. You just have to set here a loop while. So while loop, and you just have to say here like this. So inside while loop, you have to paste the line. Okay, and let me add a break here so that next value should go to the next line. Now if I refresh, now you can see all the item, all the student information showing here, right? Yeah, you can see the result. Okay, so this is how you can fetch data. I hope you understand. So thanks for watching this video. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.